weapon in human history, created in absolute secrecy. How was the atomic bomb born? Who were the men behind it? And what price did humanity pay? In the late 1830s, as Europe slid into war, a new scientific discovery sent shockwaves through the web of physics. Scientists found that curtain have an atomic nuclei called split part, a process called nuclear fission. The lasing was the amount of energy. The possibility was terrifying. If hand that energy could be transformed into a weapon unlike anything seen before. By 839, fears were growing that Nazi Germany, but by pushing such a weapon, two physics theorists and Albert Einstein took an extraordinary step. They wrote a letter to the President of the United States, warning that German nuclear research could lead to a weapon, hoped that will take power. That letter delivered to Franklin Roosevelt, set in motion a chain of events that would change history. The United States responded with a secret program codenamed the Manhattan Project. It began 1842, hiding behind the urgent tasks of war. What started as a handful of laboratories quickly became the largest and the most expensive scientific enterprise ever attempted. Over 100,000 people, engineers, chemists, physics, machines, and support workers toiled across multiple secret sites. Massive plants processed raw materials, reactors produced new elements, and remote labs turned theory into hardware. At the center of scientific effort was a name named Robert Oppenheimer, brilliant, intense, and haunted by the implications of his work. Oppenheimer led a team of Los Alamos, New Mexico, where designs were refined and devices were assembled. Other sites, Oak Ridge and Hanford, handled immense industrial tasks, producing the rare materials needed to make a chain reaction possible. The scale was staggering. Secret
bomb was tested and exploded on July 16, 1945. At the time, the remote government-owned land provided safety and secrecy for the test, codenamed Trinity. Now, the test site is a national tourist attraction, open to the public just 2 days a year, normally in April and October. There are not many artifacts to look at, but for history buffs or anyone interested in seeing where the start of the atomic age took place, visitors can walk around the site of the explosion and go inside the McDonald Ranch House where the plutonium core of the bomb was assembled.
The ranch house is part of the open house to this day. You can go inside and you can see the room where they did the assembly of the core. And one of the things that's kind of cool, I think, is when you go up and you can look on the window frames and see the staples that they had put into the walls to hold up the plastic covering up the windows to keep dust from getting into the room.
Although the site is essentially in the middle of nowhere, visitors still come from all over to see a little part of history.
The response that we get from visitors is as diverse as the visitors themselves. Some of them are in awe of being at the place where this occurred. Some of them look on with a sort of horror, recognizing what this weapon represents. Others are disappointed because there's not really much there. There's an obelisk and a very shallow, large crater and an old ranch house, and that's about it.
And sometimes they get a one-of-a-kind visitor.
One of the memorable visitors that we had one year was Jack Abey. He was a soldier who worked on the project, and he is the only person to take a color photograph of the test. Now, there were color cameras set up for the test, but for some reason, none of them actually came out. Abey's job is he was just handed a camera and told, take a picture. And so he did. And when the bomb reached critical mass and went off as intended, he realized real quick that his shot wasn't going to come out. So he quickly changed the settings on the camera and snapped that one more photograph that he had on the roll. And to this day, that is the only color photograph of the explosion.
Despite the long drive to visit the site and long waits in usually hot weather to see the landmarks, several thousand visitors still flock to the site most years to experience this piece of history.
The moment after the blast was stunned silence, followed by a realization humanity had opened a door it could not easily close. Robert P. Mann later recalled a line from the Bhagavad Gita. No, now I am became this, the destroyer of words. That purpose heavy with regret, and Eve captured what many is that Rome felt, a mix of science truth and moral dread. Just weeks after the Trinity test, the devices pulled in secret were ready for their grim purpose. On August 6, 1845, a B-29 bomber named Enola Gay released an explosive device over the city of Hiroshima. The weapon built from materials and engineering refined in secret detonated above the city in an instant of blinding light. Tens of thousands of people died immediately. Buildings crowded, fires consumed whole neighborhoods, and surveyors were left with wounds that no medicine could easily close. Three days later, on August 9, a second bomb was dropped off Nagasaki. Again, the devastation was swift and immense. Hundreds of thousands more were affected by the blasts, and the wave of suffering that followed. Radiation sickness burned landscapes, and families forever changed. Within days, the Japanese government announced its surrender, and World War II came to an end. But the end of the war did not mean an end to Cancun's. The use of atomic weapons marked the opening of the nuclear age, a time when the power to destroy entire cities, even entire civilization, excited in human minds. The bombs of 1845 were only the first of many tests and many questions, as nations around the world begin to grasp and implications. They begin an arms race that would define global politics for decades. What drew the men and women of the Manhattan Project? For many, it was a belief that the bomb would end a terrible war and save lives in the long run. For others, it was the pursuit of knowledge, the challenge of solving the impossible. And for some, history was the spectacle of fear, a dissipated effort to ensure an enemy could not begin the upper hand. Yet, none of this motivates, erases the moral weight of the act. After the war, scientists and business wrestled openly with the ethic of decision. Some argued that using the bomb saved lives for forcing a faster end to the conflict. Others invested that the scale of civilian suffering, those killed instantly, and those who suffered long-term radiation effects could never be justified. The debate continues to this day, with historians and ethicists arguing evidence, testimony, and the cold cuts of wartime choices. At the end, all I can say it. This is the story how the atomic bomb was created, a story of science and secrecy, of team-up and tragedy, and of a world forever changed. Thank you for watching. If you want more deep dives into the people and events that shaped history, subscribe and tell us what do you think. Could history have chosen a different path?